Hi, my name is Jenna Apgar, and I want to welcome you all to the Business Growth Network Summit for 2018. I am here with my business partner, David Roberts. He is the vision warrior working on his book, Survive and Thrive in the Zombie Apocalypse. Anyone in the Business Growth Network, I feel like should already be familiar with the two of us. But I do want to give like a summary of kind of like who David is. I see him every day. I work with him all the time. All of the Business Growth Network insiders do as well, but you may not know him. He's had over 35 years of business transformation leadership, has been the driving force behind the growth and transformation of numerous organizations, both, what do we call them, enterprise all the way down to the micro businesses. And as the founder and CEO of myvisionwarrior.com, previously Roberts High Performance, he leads multifaceted consulting and marketing company focused on business, vision, growth, and development. If you've been with us for a while, his unique value is connecting the dots and helping get our business owners through the vision challenge. Welcome, Dave, to the party. How are you today?
Hey, I'm pumped. I'm ready for this summit. And having seen some of the interviews that you've done with some of the other guys already in preparation for kind of this kicking it off has been a real, everybody strap in. You're going to have a lot of fun as we go through this. Not necessarily just this conversation, but as we go through the week. I'm very excited about, we titled this one, Make the Leap in 2018. And we want to get you some momentum. I think that's what we're really talking about here. Very excited about seeing people get a good running start for jumping into their breakthrough and their transformation from 2017 to 2018. It's looking really, if you look at all the business indicators, things are looking really positive for us having maybe some tailwind here for a change, as opposed to going full on into headwind. So I'm very excited.
Well, I think my goal is, we've talked about it kind of grew into something more than we even envisioned it when we first decided to do it. And I've kind of equated it to strapping a rocket on you.
Oh, yeah.
If you know what it's like to be strapped to a rocket, Wile E. Coyote style, that is, I feel like that is the summit. Showing you what.
As I told you when we started talking about this, and I know I even looked at you kind of funny. I think the person that got the rocket strapped on him was you. So at least you're still smiling
too.
Yeah, see, at least you're still smiling at this juncture. I know there's a lot of work ahead as we look at it. And
George Henley told me to smile more. Not just me, but told the audience they need to smile more. Scott Schilling said smile more. Jeff Klein said smile and be more relatable. Eric Swanson said smile more. So if there's anything you get going forward, it's to smile more and have some fun.
Well, and I know you do, but I also know that when you're slogging through things, it's what is it, what do you call it, the resting bitch face or whatever, yeah, there you go, that's the one, that you're focused and it looks scary. I've been told I look scary sometimes when I'm really focused. That's why the crown and everything kind of works for you, because it definitely lightens things up. So
that might be a good reason why.
So
business
anyway,
is gritty. You got to have fun.
Yeah, well, and I want to say, as we launch this, Jenna, I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing. I know you put a lot of work into it, and I think that everybody that's going to be watching this series of this summit and these videos are really going to be excited to see what we've done with this thing, and it's just going to get better. I mean, we'll do one of these in another 6 months in the summertime, then next year. I mean, I can see this being a real ongoing thing, and we'll refine it to where maybe it isn't, have strap rockets on multiple people and not just you. But I appreciate the work you've done here, and I think people will be really impressed. And
Well,
I'm
because
also
I've been really impressed with every one of the speakers. I've had zero pitch fest. Every
yeah,
single speaker has brought incredible value and different viewpoints, different experiences. Um, and many of them you will start to see very similar mindsets come out for each person. So when you talk about what makes a person successful, speaker after speaker, like I said, several of them like just smile and have a good time.
yeah. And that's good because, I mean, really, when you look at, you know, summits, digital summits out there are not uncommon in the last month or two. I think they've become a thing, if you will. And one of the things I can say I'm very happy with so far as everything I've seen is very consistent with, you know, our mission of Business Growth Network, which I'll talk about here in a minute in terms of making the leap and kind of giving you some background on, you know, how I came to this place and how you and I kind of started working on the Business Growth Network together. And for those who just heard about the Business Growth Network, this has been a labor of love now for what, over about 16, 18 months?
Yeah, they're about a year and a half.
As we've started trying to do this. So yeah, I'm very pleased with the tone of this. It's not one where we're trying to pressure anybody to do anything that they're not ready to do. In fact, quite the opposite. We really want people to be grounded, and that's one of the fundamental strategies and why we're doing Business Growth Network, right? Is so that we're taking people on the journey at the pace that they're ready to go.
And sometimes dragging them a little bit.
Well, we got to drive, you know, leadership is not always about polling everybody and saying, what do you want to do? But it's, you know, staying enough in front and kind of pulling them along so that they do what they need to do. And,
that motivation, like, come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. I feel like when it's hiking, it was, you would take a break when the scragglers got too far behind. And you'd watch them and you give them enough time to eat and nourish. And then you're like, come on, let's go. It's time to go.
See, with 5 kids and my wife, I would say they probably would all say, yeah, that's how he does. Because basically, if I'm going through, I've been on 4 million miles through, you know, on planes flying, and when we would go on family vacations, I would get out and I do the same thing. I'll start walking, and I have, you know, I'm 6'2", long legs. I move pretty fast, and I know where I'm going. And I just say, okay, everybody else catch up. But then you have to stop and then look and see how far they are behind and say, okay, come on. And it's probably, you know, that whole analogy probably consistent with the way I move the flock, if you will, through life.
That sounds about right for kids.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned talking about how we got started and how we got started with the summit. Let's go back to that.
Okay, so you want to talk? You want me to bring up the slides?
Sure, go ahead and bring up the slides.
You know, again, people would probably rather look at you than the slides, but they probably would rather look at my slides rather than me. So I'm gonna, our faces will be smaller at this point. So I'm gonna.
Well, I think it only gets the slides, and with Jim Trasters, it actually brought up his view, but not mine. So it's should just be the slides.
Okay, so we'll.
There we go. Oh, now we got your screen.
How's that?
There you go.
Got me?
I got you.
Okay. So one of the things I just want to give people perspective as they go into this, I was looking at what we've invested in Jenna's time and the work, not even talking about the time that the speakers have invested in this. And we've got over $50,000 of time, money, and energy going into this summit that you're going to get to enjoy essentially for free. So one of the things I wanted people to be aware of is that this is not even though we talked about some of the hard work and everything, this is not a trivial exercise. And we've got the 30 plus. Yeah, I know. And again, I can't say enough how much I appreciate the effort that you've put into it, and
I've had to wear
just
makeup every day.
yeah, you can't just roll out and start doing your digital marketing stuff, um, you know, with all the stuff like you've got on the board. I love that fact that you got that board in the background so we can look at the customer value journey every time we see your face too. So, and if some people, as they go through this, if they don't know what that means, you definitely need to hear Jenna's talk and also just have spent some time with her in the engagement groups and even engage her formally if it makes sense, because that's something you definitely need to embrace. And I'm actually revisiting that with the Vision Warrior, so at Jenna's admonishment, so to get my customer value for the whole visionwarrior.com lined out. So the other thing, we've got the 30 speakers. I got to tell you, I'm very excited about the people that have signed up. It's not a very homogenous group, let's put it that way. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of different angles. When we look at, again, and on Friday, when I talk to you about your unique vision and your, all those things, I want you to understand that we believe that as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, as somebody that's really wanting to take control, that it's the whole thing. You can't really separate business from your personal. That's why we'll have business growth, personal growth, obviously sales, marketing. There's all new content here. One of the things is this interview format, which I've really been impressed with the speakers I've seen. Scott Schilling's, you're going to love his. I know Anil's going to be good. Doug Grady, just really powerful people. Eric Swanson's there. You're going to hear obviously Jenna and myself. There's a lot of people here. Jason Troy, people that I've seen before, and then there's people on here that either I've seen and Jenna hadn't seen, Jenna's seen and I haven't seen. Now she'll have seen them all pretty much because she's doing the interviews, except for the one I'm going to do with her. Right?
But we really took an effort to reach out of our normal circle. So for those who are already in Business Growth Network, it's not just the people you've seen and heard before. We reached out and I just went on LinkedIn and started connecting. It was like, hey, I know you from here. You're awesome. Can you speak to our audience? We're going to do this summit, and you just have to record a Zoom meeting for me and I'll take care of all the rest. And I got so many yeses, and even the people that you already know, we've made sure to ask them more in-depth questions to get them know better, not just the stuff that you're used to hearing about.
Well, and that's actually, Jenna, you bring up a great point, and my next slide will illustrate that. But one of the things I realized is I was listening to you talk to people like Tracer, who I didn't know, the CEO of SparkCharter. I didn't know these people, and hearing some of their story, or even Scott Schilling, I've heard some of his story, but kind of knowing where these people have come from and why, it's fun to see where they're at, and it's great to learn from where they're at, but it's also awesome to know that everybody's on their own journey, and the depth and of not only the people that we have, and the content that they share, but just the lives that are brought to the table in this summit and in the Business Growth Network in its entirety are really the power of what this summit's going to give. So I'm really excited to share this the next 5 days with our Business Growth Network insiders, as well as those who are outside the network that have chose to join us. And again, we're going to encourage you along the way periodically. We really want to see those who are aspiring to be part of our network, and you'll understand why as I kind of go through a few of these slides and a little bit of this conversation. And again, to tee that up, as I said, all new content. And then we're going to, throughout each speaker, like Jenna said, it's not a pitch fest, but each speaker has made an effort to provide takeaways, value, summit deals that people are only going to get.
No, we're not talking about even just pitch. I required every single speaker to make something available free. So whether it's their worksheet, Eric Swanson gave away all his ebooks. So all his books in ebook format. And then you can get into some of the more sales type stuff. Jeff Weaver offered to waive the entire $299 fee to join iTex and start selling with that not cryptocurrency, that alternative currency. So if there's any pitching, I made them wait till the end of the hour for one, and every single speaker was required to offer free value.
That's awesome. And yeah, and I've seen that, and they're all coming through with that, which is also, I knew we asked for that, obviously, you know.
I required it.
I'm seeing it come through on every one, so that's really a good thing. So anyway, so that's kind of that. I'm gonna move forward a little bit. I know we've got an hour, but so this is kind of the theme of this particular talk is really making the leap, and I want to start off, if it's okay, can I go ahead and kind of tell a little bit about my story, which starts when I was 10 years old?
Sure. I don't think I've heard this one.
No, I know. That's what I said. I got, I was inspired by some of the other speakers and hearing their story and some of the things they shared. I figured I'm going to be fully transparent here. So if nothing else, people will kind of know a little bit about my journey as we go through here. By the way, you mentioned my book. I thought this would be a good place this is kind of where I'm at in my journey right now, is Vision Warriors Survive and Thrive in the Zombie Apocalypse. And this is a mock-up, if you will, of the ebook cover or the book cover. So not necessarily final product. It's actually a work in process. It's as I say, soon to be bestseller that'll probably be in the September of 2018 timeframe. That's my current timeline based upon all the publishing schedule. But I want to talk a little bit about where I came from, because a lot of people, especially like in the Richardson Plano networkers, people that are in the Business Growth Network, Jenna, other people that I've been hanging out with in the last few years may not understand, or understand just bits and pieces about where I came from. But I've had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit, not really even hardly knowing what that means, since I was 10 years old. I came from a very, what I would call lower middle class. I didn't have, my dad worked for Sears, started in the stockroom, worked his way up. And when I got to be close to a teenager, my parents basically said, we're doing okay, but if you want to choose what clothes you wear and you want to do the things you need to do, you need to figure out a way to earn that. If you want to have a car when you turn 16, you need to be able to figure out how to make that happen. And obviously at 10, I couldn't, go work at a place that gives you a paycheck. That would be violating child labor laws. So I actually started, my dad bought a riding lawnmower. We had basically about a 1 acre, a little less than an acre lawn. And that was kind of the neighborhood that we were in. It was not that it was really like the States, but they were bigger lawns back then, not like I was in Kansas City, not here. So I went around, I started mowing lawns with my dad's mower, of course. I didn't have to incur that expense. I did have to buy the gas. And at 10 years old, I was mowing lawns for $10 a lawn. And I lined up $10 per lawn every week during the summer, and I had 10 lawns. So I had a little business where I was making $100 a week as a 10-year-old. Yeah. Well, I mean, I probably had, I thought it was profit. I ended up out of that having to buy some gas, but gas was like 16 cents a gallon back then. That would give you the indication of how significant $100 a week was compared to, our cost now. So again, that gives you an indication of my vintage. But anyway, when I turned 16, I was able to buy my first car. Wasn't a new car, but I bought it and paid cash for it. So I only share that because what you start with and your vision in the beginning, sometimes you get away from that as you go. And so I said, well, I want to be in business. And so when I was 15, I was actually 6'2" in seventh grade and looked older than I was. I went through maturity early. Now, hopefully, I look younger than I am, but I was glad to look older. And I actually went to the McDonald's, and it was the summer before I was actually going to turn 16, and thought, I can kind of.
Wing
So
it.
my birthday is 8/2, and I flipped and made my birthday 2/8. So I got a job when I was 15 working for McDonald's, which was actually, again, a violation of child labor law. And started my way up there. And then finally they figured that out. But I was able to start my career, then moved up into, from cleaning the lot once they found out I was only 15 and couldn't give me a lot of hours, to actually, I was assistant manager and was making a whole $2.50 an hour. And that was actually good money back then. But so that was my first entree into the corporate world. And then I was able to get a sponsorship. Again, I told you my parents, I had the opportunity to consider a number of different colleges. General Motors had a school called General Motors Institute. It's now Kettering University, which is one of the top engineering schools still in the country. And I had the opportunity to go to that school, and it was a good strategic plan that I had really embarked on. It's at 17 years old when I was going to work for General Motors. I had my whole life all mapped out. And if you know me at all, you know that that's not true. What I did was I went to a college night, and my advisor, I want to share with you that when I talk about vision and everything else, I want you to kind of see that this is an evolution for me. So if you're not sitting where I'm at, or you're not able to answer the question, I couldn't answer them either at the time. But the guy, I went to a college night, was almost forced to, because I'd gone to Stanford and Harvard, and I had a large graduating class. They brought the colleges to us when we were seniors, and my buddy and I were sitting there, and our counselor had said, would you please go sit in this guy's session, because nobody signed up, and you're a couple of you that are qualified, and I know you don't really want to go there, but would you go to this guy at this General Motors Institute's presentation so that I won't be embarrassed that nobody went to that session? And we went to the session, and we were kind of sitting there, and we were yucking it up, and we'd gone to Harvard and Stanford and some of the other schools, as well as University of Missouri, all these other places. And this guy was talking, and we were kind of half paying attention. He's talking about engineering and going to school, and how, you have to have the same qualifications that if you were going to go to Harvard or Stanford, blah, blah, blah. And then he said something. He says, now, a lot of those will say that if you go to college, we'll make sure that you can afford it, but that's going to cost you, you're going to have student loans, you're going to have things you're going to have to pay back. My parents didn't have any money.
No, those are all very expensive. I don't care how much.
Even if you have all the scholarships and stuff, you're going to end up with a lot of student debt. And I wasn't real smart, but my dad was a credit man. He was a vice president or whatever in credit, and he educated me on the fact that I shouldn't get in trouble with credit, which I ultimately did. But at that point in time, I said, okay, my parents can't afford it, even if it's, and they said, not only do we have a full ride, but most of our students, because you get paid, it's a cooperative program. So you go to school, you get reduced tuition, you make enough money when you're working to not only pay your tuition, room and board, but also have, make car payment, whatever. And most of our students come in driving Volkswagens and go out driving Corvettes. So my first vision of anything, if anything were possible, was I'm going to start college, and I'm going to have it all paid for. I'm going to pay for it myself, which was a pretty cool thing for me at that point.
And drive off in a Corvette.
And I'm going to have a Corvette at the end. So, it's funny what will motivate people. But my buddy and I, as soon as he said that, we looked at each other and said, let's sign up for this one. so we did, and long story short, I ended up with General Motors, went to General Motors Institute. Subsequent to that, I got an executive MBA, went to Wharton, and then GM after a while there was this thing called computers, technology that came into play. And I was working on I was supposed to be a car builder. I was going to be a manager. I ended up with a business and a management and an engineering degree. I was going to build cars, and these things called personal computers came along. And I was very critical of what was then, they called it data processing, was then IT. And I was in the process of rolling out IBM PCs across the division of General Motors that I was when they acquired a company called EDS. Now, those in Dallas that have been around for a while probably know EDS, but that's now HP Enterprise, but it was Ross Perot's company for those who actually were tuned into. He actually ran for president back when Bill Clinton did. So it's, again, a little data, but basically I looked at that and I said, again, this organized vision of where I wanted to go. I said, technology, that sounds pretty cool. Maybe I ought to do that. So I asked a couple of questions, and one of the things that they said to me, again, very visionary, right? They said to me, if you're as good as you think you are, we can probably fix your compensation problem in 6 months. And I said, okay, that sounds good to me. I think I'll go with technology. I'd like to say that I had this vision of how technology in 1985, 84 was going to be the future. But I really, honestly, I kind of did, but I kind of didn't. And so I went with EDS, and then long story short, I got into doing large-scale, multi-billion-dollar, what they called mega deals. Ended up down here in Dallas with that company, which is what brought me here almost 20 years ago. And there's where I started getting into what I would call the real visionary stuff, because I was working to do as you can imagine, even in the corporate world, and I was very much in the corporate world, doing these large multi-billion-dollar transactions. You had to capture the mind of a CEO and the top executives of the company. You really had to sit down with them and get a vision, because if they're going to outsource, 100 million, 500 million, 600 million a year of their operations to another company, they've got to have a pretty clear vision of what you're going to help them make happen, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of it wasn't really the job that I was doing as much, but it was required to actually end up getting the deal done, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So I was doing that, and frankly, I got to a point moving from what was then, I was on the GM account, moving here to Dallas. One thing I want to share with you is I had probably one of the most life-changing events that happened to me, and it all seemed bad at the time, because I walked into my office one day and I was running the GM account, and I had a great operations background, and I was doing a lot of stuff, and my boss, temporary boss, because my other boss was on sick leave, came in to show up, and I thought to review my plans. And here's where, plans, you have to be ready to adapt. He walked in and he said, I was going to review my plans for the next year. And we were going through some layoffs, right sizing, whatever you want to call it. And he walks in, he says, yeah, you can set that aside. He says, we're going through layoffs, and I know that, you're the #1 ranked leader in our division, but we're going to consolidate your job and Dan's job. And we've decided to put Dan in charge because his wife is not able to relocate or do anything. And so you're out of a job, and you've got 6 weeks. Our process was you have 6 weeks to find another job internally, or you're gone from the company. Now
Aw.
you can imagine the shock to my system. I'm in Michigan. I'm very involved in my church. I'm doing all these things. And all of a sudden, my boss walks in and it's like nothing you ever did mattered. And you talk about feeling defeated and destroyed, going from, hey, I'm reviewing my plans and doing this stuff, to now I'm out of a job. Now, the good news to that story is that through networking, through connections in the company, the vice chairman of the company was starting this new mega deal group. And since I had unwittingly or unknowingly been generating more revenue through selling and doing new deals with my GM compliant than most of the sales organization at EDS at the time, I was asked to come down and join and ultimately have a leadership role in this new mega deal group, which then within a period of less than a year, my compensation tripled and basically led to a very solid lifestyle just before where I was traveling a lot, but hadn't quite hit the 7-digit income, but was getting there with EDS when a company called Accenture, which actually had just become Accenture because they were Anderson Consulting, decided they were going to gear up and build their outsourcing practice, and they needed some people or they were smart enough to go out and find the help where they needed. And where do they go? One of the reasons why you always want to be nice to people who you see as your competitor is because you may want to hire that person, or you may want to partner with that person. So we're not competitors. If you think you're a consultant or you think you're competing with me, you're not. We're collaborators, and you need to realize that. So I kept turning them down. Then a thing called 9/11 hit. Anybody remember that?
A little bit.
When the World Trade Center came down, and I was supposed to be in New York, and that day, and I had delayed a day. In fact, some of my team was there. We were going to announce a partnership we were doing in the healthcare space, and turned out that as I was on my way to the airport that morning of 9/11, I got a call from my wife saying that something had happened. And while I turned on the radio, and then when I was listening to the radio, I heard the second plane hit, and I turned around my car and came back home. And thankfully I didn't get stranded out of town like a lot of my friends did. But it made me realize that I needed to kind of reset. And so that's when after Accenture had been recruiting me, that's when I decided to make the leap. And I had been within GM and EDS 29 and a half years at that point, from the time I started with them out of high school till that point. So it was a pretty big leap. You know, we're talking about making the leap. I made a pretty big leap there. They made it very financially beneficial, and I was with Accenture. And 5 years after being with Accenture, and on this slide you see a thing called the zombie apocalypse.
I do.
I was actually on a plane, and I tell this story in the beginning of the book, and I was dreaming, and this was before The Walking Dead or whatever, and I'd seen, the Night of the Walking Dead and or the Night of the Living Dead, I'm sorry, and some other things, and zombies weren't nearly as popular then as they are now. But I literally woke up feeling like I was in a zombie apocalypse. I was going through the same motions. I'd been on a plane, 4-hour flight from Vancouver, kind of looked around, people were dragging themselves through the plane. And so I made a decision at that point, after only 5 years, back in 2005, to retire. And so I was able to retire, become a full-time dad, golfer, volunteer, all those things. And then I moved into education ministry. I'm going to kind of blow through this pretty quickly, but I was, after being a dad, I just want to say, sometimes you think what you want to do when you retire, and when what retirement is. is not necessarily, if you play golf every day with the same guys, it gets kind of boring.
No, I had that working with my first child. They're like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And then you're a stay-at-home mom and you're like, ooh.
Well, and I had 4 of my 5 kids at home, and I thought, hey, I can go to school with them. I can go to all their games during the week instead of being on a plane. All these things that I'm missing. And granted, it was great, but I wasn't really fulfilling, the mission that I had. So then I went into ministry. I'm not going to get into the story there. You can read the book on some of this stuff. Some of the stories will come out in there, or we can talk about it later. Started a consulting company, or actually took over a consulting company for a friend that started. And then I had what I call a second awakening. This is when the roots of the Vision Challenge and all the things we're doing now kind of came into play with Robert's High Performance. I started with the corporate world because I was used to working with those folks. I had a great network of CEOs and stuff, and a guy by the name of Woody Buckner helped me kind of get my head around, coming up with this starting point, which is really what we now say is, if anything were possible, what kind of future would you imagine? And we'll talk about that more on Friday. And then from that, I kept saying, okay, I really have a passion. I really, really want to impact millennials and what I call breakout entrepreneurs, guys who maybe are exited the corporate world either intentionally or unintentionally. And you'll hear some other people in these talks that have exited the corporate world unintentionally, and said, I'd like to help them get started right or take their business to the next level, not just work with people who can write big checks. So that was part of why we created the Business Growth Network. And now I'm doing the My Vision Warrior, which is totally targeted at entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, people who want to take their business to the next level. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. What we really wanted with the Business Growth Network, let me talk about this. We really want to make a difference, and I know Jenna is totally on board with this as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we really have a heart for the people in the network. We really want to see them. And when you look at businesses, small and large, one of the things I found in the corporate world is not any different than what you guys are seeing if you're an entrepreneur, is that, that's annoying. I thought I turned that off. So, is that both businesses, large businesses, are facing exponential change, right? Does anybody think things are pretty status quo these days? Whether it's positive or negative, the technology, the marketplace, genomics, geopolitics, everything changes on a daily basis. And what happens is that because it's changing, it creates a degree of paralysis. And there's pictures here that I show. One is with a big wave coming in, and basically, as you can see, it looks like it's going to wipe out that city, right? The other one is a surfer. The best thing that can happen to a surfer is a big wave. But the difference is that the surfer has a plan. The surfer has a vision. He's going to ride that wave. He's going to have some fun doing that. Whereas the people here are just kind of going about status quo, and all of a sudden the change overwhelms them. And the reality of it is, this change, if you're not careful, breeds paralysis. It breeds lack of action. There's so many good things you could do. What do you do? And Jen and I, we realized that with the Business Growth Network, and we said, we've got to create an environment. We want to create an environment for aspiring entrepreneurs who really want to either start their business, take whatever, and because 80% fail in the first 18 months, and that may be even conservative now. A lot of businesses, there's a lot more businesses starting. 96% of them fail in 10 years, and 10% fail in the first 90 days. So when we look at working with entrepreneurs, The question is, do you want to be affected by all this change, or do you want to capitalize on it? Do you want to be the surfer capitalizing on this massive amount of change and taking advantage of it? Because if you look at it the right way, and Jenna will tell you this with your marketing, and some of the other folks will tell you anything else, is that the playing field is much more level today for an entrepreneur versus the corporate world, right?
Oh, yes.
Than it ever.
Technology very much democratizes the enterprise capabilities.
Right. So an individual, that has some intelligence and a dream can go out and make a dent in the marketplace and do it very nimbly and very quickly and actually carve out their piece of the market. And you don't have to own the entire market. You just have to carve out your piece. And that's part of what we wanted to look at and making a difference, really impacting the numbers. We want to turn the dial dramatically to where instead of 80%, we want to have, 80, 90% succeed, not fail in the Business Growth Network. And that's one of the things we have. What we find is, if you're starting off on this summit here, or you're looking at, you need to get started, or you need to get unstuck. I mean, that's kind of when we talked about people we want to help. There's a lot of people that are there. You need, maybe you've got a good going concern. I know Jenna, and again, I don't want to speak for you, so you can chime in if I say this incorrectly, but having worked together, I know that you're really looking for some businesses that are creating some decent positive cash flow, but really want to, take the lid off in 2018, right? And those,
you, especially the ones that we're really talking to, they have a good business. They're looking to expand. Maybe they've added salespeople and they need to fill the books for the salespeople too. They're business owners who have been employees who are looking to take it to CEO, like true ownership status, and not just be, a job in their own business. By the way, the worst employer ever is yourself. They're a jerk.
Trust me, I've kicked myself around way too much. So yeah, I'm much more abusive to me than I've ever been to anybody that's ever worked in my organization. That's for sure. So anyway, so it's not that we're, but we don't want to leave out the people. And Jenna will tell you this too. One of the things it's a very heart-pulling thing for us is we're working with business owners that are just, not really creating. Yeah, they're not creating cash flow. And so we don't want to exclude you. So that's part of the Business Growth Network, is we want to help you build to the point where you are one of those businesses that generating the cash flow that can engage, people who are really need to, get paid in order to really help you with that. So again, what we've done is,
by the way, this whole summit, there have been so many. I do not believe in people going into debt to build a business. I'm a big fan of the lean startup. I don't believe in getting massive loans, especially in the business when you don't have a proven system. And I'm trying to think, every single one of the speakers, beside adding value, their tips on how you become successful had nothing to do with go write a $3,500 check. It was something you can do with your time or minimal cost. Every single one of them.
Absolutely. And actually, Jenna, and you and I have talked about this a lot, is that the most important things to get started aren't things that you necessarily have to write a big check for. Now, you may need to write some checks, but what we really want to do is create the community and the environment where when you're ready to write those checks, or you're ready to pull people in, we've got people that have been there and done that, the BTDT. I mean, that's what you're going to hear from everybody in this summit, is all these speakers have done this. I'm not, as hopefully when you saw a little bit of my background, I've kind of been there and done a few things.
When I look at
over
what
my,
made my own business successful, it was a $10 application for Hootsuite, which I don't even use anymore, but it was a good starter application, and a $38 membership. And you know, I'm a big part of Ryan Dice's digital marketer group, and it was his lowest level membership. So $48 a month investment, game changing.
yeah, no, I mean, and I find that all the time. And the thing is, I see a lot of people who have plowed a lot of money, throwing money at this or that because emotionally they thought, okay, I need to break out. And they finally got around to, not being overwhelmed, and I'm going to capitalize on this opportunity and I'm going to do this. And they just pick one guru or this or that. And I mean, again, I'm not throwing Ryan into the guru category, but I'm just saying he probably is, but it's really, we'll talk about this in a second, but it's really, a lot of things is there's so many possibilities, lack of resources, but knowing what those resources and getting those aligned with where you're at and what you're going to do is important so that you don't waste money, so you don't waste time, so you don't start and have to restart. And if you go through those things, I mean, if you get stuck, absolutely restart. If you decided you're on the wrong path, get on a new path. But why not start with a strong foundation? Why not start? And so what would that be worth to you? I mean, to really have clarity, the resources you need, the alignment, having a community to support you, a wealth team or whatever, what's that worth? Well, one of the things, just to give you a perspective, just to seed something on Friday, when I talk about your breakthrough for 2018, and we kind of share a little bit about the vision challenge and those kinds of things, companies have paid myself and others about $20,000 for 4 hours to do what we're making available for free in the Vision Challenge.
That's
Now,
very out of
I'm
touch
not
for
asking,
most companies.
right? So we're not asking anything of our membership and our people. In fact, we give it away. In fact, one of the things I'm criticized for more than anything by people who are trying to advise me these days is I'm giving it away to the point where people don't value and don't then take action. And so I'm trying to find that balance. But in the meantime, you're going to get it because I'm going to give it because I'm here to make a difference. When I just retired in 2005, I decided whatever time God gave me left on the planet, I was going to spend it making an impact. Obviously, first and foremost on the people that are closest to me that I love. But once I kind of got over the boredom of just focusing on those people, as I realized I had to reach out to the business community and a lot of other people to kind of really make my impact known. And I don't even know what that looks like, other than I know that I'm going to be part of my dream vision is to be changing the world one dream at a time. And that's what I want to do. And so this is just the beginning of that investment. So we're trying to bring that. Our answer really was the Business Growth Network. And that's what Jen and I talked about. I don't remember. We met in your offices there, and I just said, here's what I want to do. And you're Jenna, by the way, if you work with Jenna, there's a reason she's called warfare marketing, is because she, as young as she is, and she's still able to kind of look at me kind of like and say, really, are you really, are you serious? Are you really going to do, I mean, so we had this conversation and she said, I don't know exactly what was going through your mind. You might be able to share it, but I'm saying I'd like to have, and I run Richardson Plano Networkers, and we've grown that from like 12 people to we've got almost 900 members right now. And I said, I want a network where people can come virtually and physically if they can, and have the access to the tools and these things, and have some thought leadership and have some community where where that network of people can give, not only have an opportunity to learn, but also to give back, to contribute. And we created our answer was the Business Growth Network. And as we unwound that, we said we want to provide access to a private mastermind of professionals. And those are kind of buzzwords, but really it's getting access to people that like Jenna, like Randy Sablich, like, any one of the speakers we're going to talk about, like, Doug Grady, any of these folks, through our network, either directly or indirectly, all these people are participating, supporting, and we've been blessed for the last 18 months in kind of more of a beta mode, really, right, of building this network. What did you, Jenna, when we started this, before, we talked a few more things, what was going through your mind when we started the Business Growth Network? I started this
conversation. Wondering if you had any idea what you were getting yourself into. If you had any idea how much effort it takes to build a membership site, a membership community, the work involved, and you bring such an authority. I call it the old white guy authority, but you also have a very specific manner in talking to people. I was actually complaining to you in the DM group, by the way, not about you specifically. Yeah. I'm the marketing person, and we were sitting there at the business growth workshop building stuff, and I would say something that I know to be true as a professional marketer, and people still turn to you to get the gracing, right? I'm like, really? But you do have that authority, and you have a very specific way of speaking that I see as definitely an asset and a partner. But definitely wondering if you had any idea the amount of effort. And I'll say this to you honestly, now that things have evolved out of alpha and through beta, is I won't say I didn't have positive. I always saw Business Growth Network as having the most growth capability. It has the ability to grow. That doesn't necessarily profit, but it has a lot of room for growth, right? But it wasn't inspirational. I could see you were like, I was kind of like, And then you gave the speech that you're going to give, I believe, Friday to the Richardson Plano networking group. And you'd come up with this idea of you were sitting in the airplane talking about your zombie apocalypse that you were watching. And I could see the looks on everyone's eyes light up, and everyone was having fun, and people were engaging. And then we were sitting back in my office the next Monday after that Friday, and I keep on telling you the same thing from my marketing spot, right? And you even heard probably Ryan Dice and Marcus Murphy and everybody at the Digital Marketer crew, nobody wakes up wanting a vision. So what do they want? How are we going to give it to them? How are we going to be engaging? And I remember sitting there, I was like, can we do a zombie quiz? And you're like, wait a second, can we take this all the way through? Can everything be a zombie apocalypse? And then you were recreating the vision challenge, and we took out some of the fluff and the stumbling blocks and the negativity. Everyone's talking about fun. We keep on watching the negativity being a stumble block. Then the light went up in your eyes, and I was like, now it's possible. Right. It took 1.5 years to get there, but when I finally saw your eyes light up, I was like, now we have something.
And that's really, actually, that's...
By the way, that's more truth than even he's heard. This is all news to him.
Well, you know what, though? I love hearing it because, frankly, it's profound because as we go through the vision challenge, a lot of people get to the point of the ones that have gone through in the alpha and the beta. And I think the next, the iteration, the launch of the second week in January is going to be really, really cool, but they get to that point and you're still not exactly sure, and you think you have to have everything 100% on the line. The thing is, if you have that vision, if you have that, like we did, and to answer your question, I had no idea the work involved. So if you're still wondering that, I absolutely know and appreciate the amount of energy that it has taken and it is taken for both for you doing the tech and and making the magic happen on the marketing side, but also just the mental energy and the networking and just the working with folks and stuff that it's taken both of us to do. So yeah, there's a lot of investment there, but I would say anybody here, if you're getting a glimmer and you're ready to take the leap, that's again why the take the leap is let's get started. Let's take the leap. Let's start moving forward and get going. So we provide that access. One of the things for people who don't know the Business Growth Network, and even those that know, but maybe I know people that are in the Business Growth Network insiders right now that forget about the fact that we have weekly Facebook training on Facebook Live. A lot of the speakers we have here can't come to the Richardson Plano Networkers. We're looking to take that to the next level, by the way, in terms of this.
I would say January, for anyone who thinks they're familiar with Business Growth Network, or they're looking like I've been in and I don't even know what all's going on. January is going to start a very different view, far more structured, far bigger.
Right.
So we're going to be using a little bit more technology, but also making it very easy to keep all this great content that happens in our meetings and make sure it doesn't stop there, to make sure people who can't make the Monday meetings, because we've also been meeting on Mondays,
right.
With a very much a working session to mastermind directly with that no other group does. We had, I won't say who, we had a member who called me crying. I spent an hour on the phone with her. She was having such a hard 2017 and it wasn't grasping. I was like, look, this is a $17 a month membership and you just got an hour of my time.
Right.
No one else does that. No membership for under $100 or $400. I mean, we did a lot of research, or I did a lot of research. It's just unheard of.
Well,
the amount of content provided.
In fact, most of the experts, I'm a big fan of Lisa Sasevich, and I'm a big fan of Ryan Dice and the people, a lot of people, that we talk to, and all of them would say you don't give that level of intimacy for that kind of price.
No.
The level of sitting in the room. I mean, on Mondays we have what we call standing office hours to the insiders, right? And they can come in and sit in a room with myself and Jenna and some other, of the speakers and leaders you'll even see on here, and say, hey, I'm having a problem with this, or I'm having a problem with that, or get some latest insights. And I don't know how long we can sustain that, Jenna, but for sure we're going to expand the audience there, because we are talking about doing webinars and making it live. So people that can't be in the room can also have access and things.
Well, there will definitely be some changes made. And I had a chat with actually Ryan directly about, he was saying the same thing Lisa tells you, like, you've got to cut off some access. And
sure.
So what I looked at basically doing is democratizing it more. And so we'll still have access, but it'll also be, done by webinar. So it can be done to a larger audience. Friday, I love having the speakers in. That might, change a little bit moving forward, but I want to make sure it changes in a smart way.
Right.
That works for everybody. And yeah, I want to keep the access, but there does have to come a point where we're at max capacity.
Well, one of the things we've talked about, and again, this is always a work in progress, is that we're going to, what I have at the Richardson Plano Networkers, and there's other networking groups around Dallas and all over the country, is what we'd like to see as a business growth network ultimately be a catalyst for other local networking groups to not only be connected face to face, but also virtually plugged into the business growth network. So kind of like a network of networks. And that's also part of the vision we talked about in the beginning. Now, we haven't gotten there yet, but we will get there. I mean, as long as I'm given the lifespan here to continue to push, this is still part of the vision. So just to keep that in mind. The other thing is we have already in the back office, and we've spent time in the alpha and beta with business plans, templates for marketing plans, social media training, accounting, growth consulting, and so on and so forth. Not only with the engagement groups, but also there's actually some tools in there that are all part of that $17 a month today membership.
And that's going to be growing too. We're going to be dropping all of the Business Growth Network Summit 2018 into that space. I've also looked into my own mission and how you've talked about it. I have over 101 Evernote templates right now that I will be looking to intelligently plug in. I don't want to throw a template out there that no one knows how to use, but we'll be adding those. We're going to make sure that every partner we bring on adds some additional value that they would normally charge for. So there's going to be a lot of things changing on that back office as we move to making this revamping it into its full status and expanding it to larger audiences, which will breathe new life into it as well.
Yeah, and like Jenna said, the thing is, if we're anything going forward, it's what we've been up to this point, is we're going to be dynamic. We're going to get smarter. We're going to do things more efficiently. But it's going to change, because as we get smarter and do things more efficiently, we're learning. And part of that is the power of the network. So it's kind of open source, real training. We'll have members. You're going to see Business Growth Network insiders on these videos. It's an opportunity. If you ever wanted to be part of your own summit, this is an opportunity to do that. Maybe you're not a big name like some of the folks that we'll have on this summit. Maybe you don't have a huge audience. Maybe you want to start. Maybe you want to. This is a way to serve. This isn't a way to just get your. This is a way you can serve a group of people and become known for what you know. So love it. The evergreen training, having information out there. We talked about that. Really, our dream vision is to bring the training to small businesses by experts. And we kind of we don't mean to really disparage anybody who sees themselves as a guru, but the guru is kind of our enemy here, because we really believe that each of you, everybody probably watching here, you may be learning and wanting to go, but you probably I know you have unique value to contribute to the network if we just find a way and a vehicle for you to do that.
Well, and so you want to give a pass to the gurus. I've never met a guru, not a true one.
Right.
You can say I give knowledge, which somebody explained to me is the definition of a guru. But as you always say, you've never had an original thought in your head.
Yeah, I mean,
neither
I've
of some of these
from a lot of
people
gurus, I guess,
that call themselves gurus.
Right.
And they keep such antiquated information, and most of them they haven't done what they say they can do in years. It's like somebody was telling me about a sales trainer who hasn't sold anything beside his own books and sales training since 1984, and it was cars. So how can his sales training truly be indicative of the current methods when he hasn't sold anything?
Right. He's not out, in today's world with all the digital technologies and the millennials and the relationships and how you build things today. I mean, principles, best principles survive, but practices change. How to do it, how to deliver it, how to make the rubber meet the road, if you're using the car analogy, is continually evolving. We continually have to be learning and refreshing, which is part of what our vision is for that with the network. We really said, and what we said at the beginning is that the network is the guru.
And this is hard, by the way, for anybody looking at it. It's easy to be the guru and film everything yourself and build everything yourself and promote it all by yourself. It's complicated to make the network the guru. There are so many professionals out there that know what they're doing.
Well, and the thing is, it's part of it. We talked about this in the beginning, Jenna. It's a lot of it is ongoing curating of
Yes.
content because every day I'm meeting new people.
So
Every
that's what
day,
this summit is. This
yeah,
summit is curating real people doing real business who know their craft.
right,
And one of the things that will be changing going forward is our Monday meeting. 1 hour of it will be like a what's working now office hours where we, like this, we bring in somebody and they'll have the opportunity to share their screen or just talk about, exactly how they do something. And one of the things that's very unique about this summit is I've been able to reach out on LinkedIn to some very amazing people, quite literally all over the world. Mark Sinclair from Spark Chart, he was in Australia. The poor thing, our whole interview went to like 1 a.m. his time. I kept
right,
forgetting what time it was. But to take that technology, and I know some of our older, less tech savvy people are not going to balk a little bit, but
right.
the ability to do that using the webinar technology we already have, I can bring on all sorts of people. And using that network and building the partners like Jeff Klein and I were just talking about from a global perspective, if you have a question, I will find the answer to it. That's the power of the network.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, you mentioned the older, less tech savvy. The thing that I've found over the last year with the Business Growth Network and with this network, and it's kind of almost personified by Jenna and myself as partners in this, in that really aligning the millennial comfort with the new way of networking, connecting, digital, and social media and stuff with old school or the boomer expertise or is really powerful
Mm-hmm.
and really impactful because we both have something to learn here. We can both elevate each other's game, and it's the same way. We have a lot of our community that are millennials, a lot of our community that are boomers, and so on and so forth. So and I enjoy
Am I
that.
the only millennial in our speaker lineup?
Oh,
Oh, I don't know if I thought
probably.
about that.
I think you've fallen down there. No, I mean, you need to recruit more of your. No, I think if there's not, there will be when we do it in June. Let's make that
Maybe Yaroon. Yaroon looks kind of young.
it might be, yeah. I don't know. I as I get older, I have trouble discerning who's. I hang out a lot with millennials, so I have trouble forgetting that I'm not one sometimes. So
Oh, I'm terrible at guessing ages, but
yeah,
having talked to everyone, I think even Jim, I mean, I'm at the very oldest millennial you can be, so you have to be younger than me.
right,
I have to
yeah.
think about that. We talk about diversity.
Well, we've definitely got it in the network. We've definitely got it in, Richard Plano networkers and Business Growth Network. But that's, again, I think that the power of the network is that we don't want to have just one group of this demographic or that demographic, that the world is very diverse and our network's worldview needs to be much, much bigger than just any one person can bring. So we want to make a difference. We really believe, and now this sounds crazy, but we really believe that we can transform the world with this network. We really believe, and that's what we're trying to do. I mean, that's part of our leap, if you will, into 2018, is we really want to take this whole Business Growth Network and what we're doing through beginning with this summit to the next level. We really want to take it to where we are empowering a lot more people in a lot better way as we go forward. So,
And that was multifaceted. That really, I know I have, I think I told you, I've never actually structurally finished the vision challenge. It's
right,
always just been in my head. And I think it was because I was never kind of like, I hadn't seen the spark in your eyes until you came up with the zombie apocalypse concept. It just didn't sit. And then 2 weeks ago, I was sitting down interviewing for an account manager, which has been a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. Every time I try to hire an account manager, I hire a salesperson.
Right.
But one of the things that when I'd say I want to help the mom and the veteran community with one big reason being they don't fit in the corporate box. And you can see that on the resume. Her last job was 2009. And for a corporate position, they don't see her degree in marketing. They don't see that she worked with one of the greatest Ogilvy. They see this giant 7-year, 8-year gap, right?
Right.
It's just impossible. And you'll start at the bottom just like you're 18 or 21, right? How do you really help them? When you say you want to help and you're like, oh, I'll consult you, I'll talk to you, well, here's some information. What do those groups need? They need to feed their kids. They need to pay their mortgage. It was not inexpensive. That was part of taking on even the affiliate and allowing our partners to truly be partners.
Right.
And profit off their membership by sharing it. So when we talk about sharing it too, and truly having a vision to change the world, I know just here in Frisco, I don't want any other mom to feel like she doesn't know how she's going to spend $500 a month on groceries. I want her to be able to plug in and know it's going to be all right. To not just give her the ability to sell that, but then provide such a great product that it's easy for her to sell.
Yeah,
so
I think
really taking it and making a mission all the way through.
well, and that's actually great segue and great lead in, because one of the things we debated in the beginning was, if you notice, it's businessgrowthnetwork.org as opposed to .com. And one of the things we talked about was that we want this to be not for profit. So in other words, we're not funding this not for profit for basically the structure. So we're recovering the cost of doing the Business Growth Network, but we're also have to make decisions like any other business about what kind of expenses and structure you need. One of the things is we've taken the cost of sales, we're paying that back to our members or our partners by allowing them to participate through, rather than running Facebook ads or Google, whatever. But we're not for loss. The one clear thing I want to make is it's not profit, but we do have to have pay back. So the reason why we have somebody said, well, if it's not for profit, why do you have $17 a month? Well, if you've ever been, I mean, that's number one, it's pretty nominal. Number two is we're not recovering anybody's time here. We're just recovering the cost of the systems. And now it's also, we're going to allocate a portion of that in our cost of sales. As we grow the network, we should be able to give, I don't remember, $17 a month, $5 a month to somebody who's been referred in through an affiliate or whatever, roughly speaking. And we don't have to get into the specifics there, but the reason for that is because the bigger the network gets, the more we can spread the system costs out. So it's actually kind of a perpetuating thing that keeps the price within reach of anybody. There's nobody, frankly, the problem I have is somebody jumping into a system where they pay like $14,000 and they haven't even figured out what business they're in or what the value is, and they're not making any money. Now all of a sudden they've got this, carrying it, I'm asking you to run a marathon with a 50-pound pack on. Now,
Right.
If you're not in the military, that's not something that should be normally happening in business, right? We shouldn't be loading people up. So, so I wanted to just end with this, and you'll see this again. If you signed up, there was this special, and I really want to make sure that you think about this. You don't have to do anything. This isn't like do this now, but you really need to work. For $97, we're going to give anybody who's interested access to the Business Growth Network, get on demand, all these summit recordings. Jen, explain to everybody real quickly how long are these videos, because we have videos every day over the next 5 days. Can you just explain how that's going to work so that somebody watching this kind of knows how to plan their week or how to figure it out?
The idea is that there will be a schedule, and that you make time during that scheduled time to go watch that, the ones that you care about. And probably 30 minutes thereafter, if you want to ask the speaker a question over in the Vision Challenge. Now, because of time, again, we have some in, Jeroen is in Belgium. Mark is over in Australia. We have East Coast, West Coast, Central. They're literally everywhere.
Right.
I think Neil is in India right now.
Yeah.
So, time schedule is definitely going to be an issue, but do make time. They'll be dripped over the day so that you concentrate on the first one, then you have the second one, just as if you were going to a real conference, a real summit. And I will leave up each of the videos available for people to watch throughout the day. So if you miss it at 8 a.m., it'll still be available at 9 p.m., right? When it hits midnight, they're coming down because I have to put the next speakers in the room. So the next speakers will be on the page. So if you miss it, you really wanted to see Scott Schilling on Monday, but you miss it, it's not available Tuesday unless you're a member. So that's part of it too.
Okay, so that's a good point. So if people that are already in the Business Growth Network insiders, they will have those videos on demand in the back office, right?
Yes.
Okay,
they'll have the recordings available to them for as long as they're a member. And for this 97, they're getting 12 months of membership covered, and then only 17 thereafter, which that price might go up in the future. But more importantly, they can watch these a little bit. They can re-watch them.
Right.
Because some of these people are giving a lot of information. But I very much wanted there to be, when you sit down at dinner, I know at our dinner table, we don't allow cell phones. The idea is it's non-distracted, right?
Right.
Dinner is at 6:30. We all sit at the table. We put away the phones. We put away the iPads. Dinner time is for our family and whoever might be joining us for dinner. I did not want to take away from the traditional summit mentality. When it is 8 a.m. and it's Scott Schilling's turn, that's his turn.
Right.
If that makes sense, I want you to take
Absolutely.
a moment to be with Scott. I want you to take a moment to be with Gretchen. I want you to take a moment, that hour, to hear what Lee Thurburn has to say about how, to get equity in 2008. 18, not 2008. Skip 10 years there.
Yeah.
But it's very important, and I've talked to some of the other people who've hosted summits, and if you just leave it up for a week, nobody watches anything.
Right.
Take the moment, kind of go old school. Scott Schilling was talking about that, and focus on what's in front of you. Focus on the person's time, and then they're going to move over. Many of them are taking not just the time, the 2 hours it took to record each session, but they're also taking out, I know Jim he put up a whole slide for it. He was taking 2 hours out of his day that he was blocking out of his day that I know he charges a lot for if you were to try to consult him directly, to be there in the Vision Challenge engagement group and ask questions.
Right.
There were certain things I made incredibly clear to every speaker if they wanted to participate, and I was going to give them my time. One was no pitch fest. One was they had to have some kind of free offer that they were going to, give value to the audience. And the other one was that they would make time to be in that Vision Challenge and answer questions, just like if you were at Lisa Sasovich's or if you go to Ryan Dice's thing, the speaker gets off stage and you can ask a few questions.
Right. And then they're gone.
Yeah.
So, you don't get, and if you want to buy for those, if you want to buy the videos, I can tell you, having gone to one of those, I won't,
$297.
Yeah. You're going to spend, at least a couple $100, maybe even $500 for the videos to take home with you, or, whatever.
Well, hosting them costs money. Hosting them takes time, takes space.
Yeah. So a lot of people, again, just to reemphasize, the speakers themselves are throwing in over almost $4,000 worth of products. But obviously, if you don't make it if you're not present with their session and you don't know the offer that they're giving, then you're going to miss that. So you want to be there for the ones. But the thing is, a lot of these speakers, I would imagine in some cases, not all, but in quite a few cases, you don't even know I've watched the videos myself, and I know some of these people, and the value, the nuggets, the things that they brought into these talks, things I've never heard before, and the value that they're giving are things that I've never seen some of them offer before.
Well, I'll give you a great example. I have seen Jeff Weaver so many times at networking events, and I just kind of look at him. He's not like a gregarious personality. You know, he's just very chill and he's matter of fact. And I've heard him talk about barter, and I'm just like, whatever. And then when I sat down with him and interviewed him, I'm like, dude, send me the link. So when I'm done here with you, I'm going to finish filling out, you know, I'm already set up. He offered for every member, an actual Business Growth Network Insider member, one of the gifts he's waiving is the $299 fee to get set up with iText. I have never, like, I have my chart of how to build awareness, this big block right here. Awareness is expensive. It is the most expensive aspect of marketing. It's why I would rather pay affiliates and give, you know, our speakers or our participants or our members, you know, the $5.80 per month for every person they get signed on, compared to Google. In fact, Google would probably be more expensive to me. But his ability to bring awareness with such a nominal fee is amazing. So we're signing up. Like, if somebody wants to do their $97 in iText dollars, I'm going to set it up so that they can. If somebody wants to do the business growth workshop in iText dollars, they can.
So we're gonna real life. I mean, I saw his talk already, and yeah, that'll be good. So we're gonna.
But making sure that all this is woven together, like that's part of that community. Is all these speakers are working towards you, and some of them had no idea what offer they were going to throw out until we were talking. I was like, "Hey, that's it. I want that."
Right. Yeah. So I think that the point there is that, and again, we're sharing this with you not because, but we wanted you to kind of have this perspective right up front as you're going into this whole summit. So that's why we wanted to get this out. You're going to get interviews. I'm going to actually exit my sharing here,
Oh, there you go.
back to just you and me. Is that okay?
You just wanted to see my crown.
Yeah, I did. I like the crown. I actually requested the crown. I saw another interview. I think you did that with
George Henley.
George Henley, right. And I said, yeah, I asked her about, I said, what the heck is going on there when I saw that recording. And so I said, I want the crown for this interview too. So
don't be surprised if it becomes a normal in 2018.
Hey,
I need to remind myself sometimes.
Well, you know, like Linda Yu says, what's your persona?
There you go.
Maybe it's going to be Queen Jenna here or something, you know. So
I think I just need to remind my kids sometimes.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so that's kind of any other things that occurred to you? I know we've kind of exhausted our hour, I think. I haven't.
There is, you know, today it's Monday, it's January 1st. I can tell you right now, this is pre-recorded. Parties at my house on New Year's. So while this is playing, I'm going to be up. I can't say that we'll be at 100%. But I want you to take this day off right now. In December, in the 1st of January, business is just slow. That's a good reason that we wanted to do the summit the first week of January. I want you to take a look at the schedule, and I'll have it up above here so you can easily click over to it. Take a look at what your weakness is. What was the video I just tagged you in not too long ago? Was it David Goggins, the Navy SEAL?
Right.
And he was, you know, was talking about doing things you don't want to do. And the other thing he said was, don't build up your strengths. Like, we're going to go through the vision challenge and we'll identify what makes you uniquely you. But, you know, don't just ignore the tax, you know, the tax code stuff. Don't ignore the modern barter. Don't ignore some of these that don't seem as exciting or they're not your wheelhouse, because that's where you need the most help. So pick out the ones you need, watch as many as you can. If you can't pay attention directly, by all means, turn it on and let it stream in the background as, your kids watching Barney on the other screen. Get as much out of it as you can so that when we move into the vision challenge, whether it be with us, with Doug Grady and his 40 days of focus, or whomever you do it, or on your own, so you know what's possible and what's going to move that dial the most. Or it was not on one of the interviews, but he was one of our interviewees. Snow Day. Now I'm going to forget his name right now, his first name. Sean Snow Day. But saying, where's the money? What do you have to do that's going to make that dial move the most in your business truly launch in 2018? See what's possible. Every one of these speakers has a successful business. They may not all be 6 figures. Some of them are 7 figures. I think we might have one that's 8 figures, but they all had some success in their life.
Right.
Why would you give that up?
Yeah, and I will say that, I mean, that's great. And one of the things that we need to do going forward here is make sure you know what that thing is. And hopefully out of this summit, and if no other place that you decide to land, well, the one that I'm going to do on Friday, I will tell you, I've listened to most every recording, and they kind of start where we leave off with the vision challenge. I'm just going to give you that little seed of thought to think about. So everybody assumes going into their counsel on what you do in their business that you know the answer to the things that I'm going to challenge you with in making 2018 your breakthrough.
Well, even inside of the things that I do inside the Business Growth Network for the Business Growth Workshop, if you don't know where to aim the arrow,
it's a mess.
If I don't know what you want your business to look like,
you can't help.
I can't help you. Or we can build it. We'll build it all for you. And again, if you don't know where you're aiming your arrow, you might shoot your neighbor's forehead. Like it.
Yeah.
You're just letting a random arrow go, and you're not giving it thought to where you aim it.
Yeah, I'm going to advocate that you watch every one you possibly can, and if you don't think you can do it logistically because of the 5 days, make the investment. The $97 is nothing. Or if you just want to do it 17 at a time, a month, that's fine. I'm not pitching it. I'm just saying it's crazy not to jump into it at that level. If you're going to make that leap, that's not a very big leap. In fact, that leap is just going to give you a great running start to make 2018 one of those that you can focus on. What is the most important thing? It's hard to answer that question if you don't know where you're going.
Here's another one. Get a mentor. Most of these speakers would make great mentors.
Yeah, and most of them are in the same place that I'm at. And I know, Jenny, that we really want to make a difference. And if we find somebody with a dream and an idea and a way to help them make that happen and make a difference, then for me, that's what I'm talking about when I say changing the world one dream at a time.
Now, I know you're looking for zombies. Out of the 7 zombies, have you found all of them yet?
No, got 3. And so I'm looking for different demographics, different challenges. I've got, I've got a couple millennials, believe it or not, and one boomer right now. So I'm looking for a breakout, and I'm really looking for active zombies, or people that are actively looking to break out of the herd. And so part of the filter there will be, the summit, and then, subsequently the vision challenge, which we'll share more about for those who don't know what I'm talking about there. And if you really want to know if you're a zombie, you go to businessgrowthnetwork.org and take the assessment. Or, if you go to the vision challenge, you probably see a link on there at some place for Are You a Zombie?
Yep.
And you can check that out. We created that.
And
so,
we'll post the link right after the time space for this January 1st. I'll post the link over in the Vision Challenge.
okay.
Everyone can take the zombie quiz. If for no other
Yeah.
reason, it's so much fun.
It's only
What
10
level of zombie
questions.
you
It's only
are.
10 questions. Takes a few minutes. You can see how infected you really are. I tell people all the time in confidence, I created the zombie quiz. I know how to make it myself 0% zombie, but every time I take it, honestly, I'm never 0% zombie. So we're all affected to one degree or another, or infected with the zombie virus. And if you don't know what that is, hang around a while, you'll figure that out. So, but anyway, I'm excited, Jenna. This has been fun. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the week. And I'm looking forward to rejoining when we do your interview. And then also on Friday.
Oh, it'll be so much fun. Well, thank you very much, David, for giving up your time. And I know it's been a baby pet project for you the last year and a half, and to your family as well for giving you up for that. And you already know this, but I'll tell anyone watching, if you have any questions for David or you just want to give him a hard time about being a zombie himself, feel free to Photoshop some images. I'd love to see those, and go drop them over on the Vision Challenge engagement group. And we'll get some zombies up there going and some questions. And maybe we'll find a couple zombies for your book.
Looking forward to that.
All
If we
right.
get
Thanks,
those out of
David.
this, that would be an awesome jump start to my year. So anyway, thanks, Jenna. And again, thank you for all your work. This is going to be great.
All right. Thanks, David. Bye-bye.